It's not every day that a game comes along that makes me want to do this. Planetary Annihilation does a fantastic job of bringing out the evil psychopath lingering just below the surface of my skin. Planetary Annihilation is a game of extremes. It is extremely enjoyable, extremely destructive, and extremely explosive-tastic. Look it up. It's a word now. It's a word. And now that the Planetary Annihilation's Titan expansion pack has come out, they finally have some gameplay to go with all of the crazy hyperbole. Now, you may remember about a year ago, Planetary Annihilation saw a full release. Before that, it was kickstarted and then went into a paid early access beta on Steam. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't anything special. It was basically a game where you blow up planets, but before you got to blow up planets, there was a kind of boring RTS element to it. And coming from the studio that gave us Supreme Commander, one of my favorite RTSs of all time, well, that's a little bit disconcerting. But now it's a year later, and Uber Entertainment has released their first true expansion, a standalone game called Planetary Annihilation Titans, which includes all of the original game, plus a whole host of new changes that make it a lot better to play. Now, this is a review on both games. I'm looking at the original Planetary Annihilations and Planetary Annihilation Titans, and what Titans does right to make the game substantially better. Because I'm having a lot more fun with Titans. Not gonna lie to you, this is pretty fucking awesome to do. How about a little bit of atomic fire, you goddamn pathetic creatures? Now, the core of Planetary Annihilation is basically an RTS. You've got, of course, standard land, naval, air, and orbital units, and you've got your resources coming in from metal extractors and power plants, and then your resources going out. It's on a very macro scale, though. If you're used to StarCraft, this ain't StarCraft. You're building enormous groups of units, sometimes putting units on continuous production to construct massive armies, because that's really what you need to take down an enemy in this game. Even the enemy commander can wipe out most Tier 1 units without even blinking. But what Titans does differently is add in a new class of unit called the Titan. Of course, this is the biggest change coming to the expansion pack, and it is very reminiscent of experimental units from Supreme Commander. These are massive, hulking death machines of various different flavors, from enormous hover tanks with massive guns, to giant floating starships that fire enormous beams of energy, to an enormous warp gate that can teleport in entire armies, to a giant walking death machine. There's all sorts of stuff that you can build with this max-level Titans. And they are definitely the endgame destroyers, because those are game enders on their own. But Planetary Annihilation has always been about this level of hyperbole, such as enormous nuclear strikes from halfway across the map, tactical missile launchers that can wipe out an entire squadron of units in a single shot from miles away, up to throwing asteroids and smaller planets into planets to blow them up, which is incredibly satisfying. The fact that this ridiculous level of hyperbole didn't extend to unit production was a real huge drawback for Planetary Annihilation. It really sucks when you're building up to giant lasers, but the only thing you really get from your bot factory are a couple of fucking lazy pissant tanks. Having these enormous death machines makes gameplay much more fun for crazy people like me. Yes, my great minion, crush them all under your mighty iron legs! Crush them all! The gameplay itself comes in 3 unique flavors. There's the skirmish mode and multiplayer modes, which are pretty self-explanatory, blow each other up fests. And then there's Galactic War, which acts as a sort of campaign mode or single-player story. In Galactic War, you're tasked with conquering the entire galaxy, and you move from star to star, looking for things, blowing up the enemies you find there, and then moving on. It does get a little bit repetitive after a while, because every mission is the same. Find enemy, blow up enemy with your guns. But in the end, it could be fun. The nice, unique thing about it is that you essentially have a build to work with. You get your commander who has access to certain techs, and as you unlock different stars, you find other technologies to add to your slots. You have a limited number of slots, so you often can't use everything you find, but you can expand the number of slots to increase your technological prowess. And there are different technologies that are much better than others. Eventually, you'll work out a certain build that works really well for you, and you can move in and attack enemies with that build. All in all, Galactic War is fun, if a little bit samey from mission to mission. The other major gameplay changes are things like terrain changes on planets. One of the big things that Planetary Annihilation, the former, never really managed to achieve was interesting maps. They kind of fell flat because they were all procedurally generated planets based on what you specify in your little map creator or what you pick from a list of maps. Unfortunately, this led to some really bland and boring maps with no real strategic advantage. But Planetary Annihilation Titans add things like height and more intelligent planetary generation to create different terrain and different sorts of battlefields, which feel a little bit more interesting to play on. It's not a huge difference, and it's kind of subtle, but you'll pick up on it pretty quick and realize that there is a big thing going on here. It does make the fights more interesting. Taking the high ground with artillery units provides you a clear advantage. It's really, really awesome. I like the new planetary generation system. Now, on top of these two major changes, there's a lot of minor ones like combat balance, as well as new units like orbital battlecruisers, which are fucking awesome. Like, seriously, that's an objective fact. Orbital battlecruisers are fucking awesome. Unfortunately, this doesn't alleviate one of the other major issues with Planetary Annihilation, which was navigation itself. Unfortunately, especially navigating between other planets can be difficult and confusing sometimes, a little bit janky, a little bit weird, and it can cause some problems. It is manageable, and once you learn how to do it, it comes as second nature, but for somebody new to the game, it's going to be really difficult to manage that sort of planetary, interplanetary view and camera. To be honest, everything in Planetary Annihilation Titans should have been in Planetary Annihilation. They should have been in the base release. It feels like this is a completion of the original game, and as somebody who backed them during early access, I feel that yes, this is a completion of the original game. Now, fortunately, if you back them on Kickstarter, you get this expansion for free, and if you back them through the Early Access program, you get a massive discount on the standalone version of it, which is excellent. That's fantastic. I'm really happy about that they're kind of doing that, saying, yeah, we kind of messed up with the original, but here's some improvements, and here's them either free, or here's them super cheap. Now, maybe that's not perfect fit for everybody, but this is essentially a breathing new life into the game. A game that I did spend a lot of time enjoying back in the day, even for its faults. While there is a lot of deep strategy to be found within Planetary Annihilation, it's not quite as deep as the old Supreme Commander games, and some people might find it a little bit shallow. But in the end, that's not really what a lot of us are here for. When it comes to Planetary Annihilation, there's only one thing we want to do. Burn! Burn, little insects, burn! Thank you for watching me annihilate planets in such a fantastic way. I hope you've enjoyed this little video on Planetary Annihilation, and I hope you pick it up, because it's genuinely fun. It's had its problems, but it is a genuinely fun game. But thank you very much again for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, I said that twice. Please like, comment, subscribe. I love hearing from you guys. You know, the whole usual spiel I give. But I still like to say it because it still means a huge amount to me. But thank you very much for a third time. You all have a great one.